केतु का Hare Krishna, everybody. Dandavad pranams.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Hope you are
Hare
all well.
Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Hare Bol, Hare Bol, Hare Krishna. Nice to hear you all. So we are continuing with our Bhagavad Vicara. Let me just share the screen. Anybody remembers what we read last time? It's a little difficult to remember, yeah? Okay, fortunately, we have this Bhagavad Subodhini, which is kind of nicely structured, gives description of different sections in each chapter. So we are in the 7th chapter of the 7th canto, which is entitled What Prahlad Learned in the Womb. So you remember the beginning of this chapter described the events that led to Kayadu, the Prahlad's mother, going and staying in Narada Muni's ashram. And then from Shloka 18, Prahlad is already starting to teach his schoolmates in the Gurukul. So first part was about jnana, knowledge of the spirit, soul, and transmigration, reincarnation, if you remember that. And then after that, there were Prahlad's instructions on bhakti. And what we did last class was this part from 39 to 47 approximately, which is described as struggle for material things is unworthy. That was the main point made by this series of verses, that material happiness cannot really make us happy. It's transient nature of material happiness. And then from 43 to 47, material body, its possessions and relations are described. And now we are going to start this section where Prahlad is really urging his friends to become devotees, to take up to devotional service. So we stop at the shloka 47, what is offer obeisances to Vyasadeva and Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Narayana Namaskritam Naram Chaiva Narotam, Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudira Yatnashta Praishu Bhadrishu, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tanashloki Bhakti Bhavati Naishti, Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutala Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravai Dachayane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtadesha Tharine. So Shloka 47. Anybody would like to start reading? Subhadra Mataji, perhaps? Subhadra Mataji, are you there? Are you better? You were sick last time, or can you read today? Okay, she doesn't hear. Maybe I'll start reading, and then later we can join. Karman Harabate Dehi Dehe Natmanuvartina Karma Tanute Deham Ubayam Tvavi Katha. Am I actually audible or I'm frozen? Can anybody hear me?
Yes, Prabhu, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, I was wondering that I'm not
I'm
audible.
apologizing in advance again. Probably I won't be able to read it. It's clashing with the service, so I'm listening but not able to read. Sorry.
No problem. No problem. I can read, and then whoever else can read. So let's read. The living entity who has received his present body because of his past fruitive activity may end the results of his actions in this life. But this does not mean that he is liberated from bondage to material bodies. So he may end the results of his actions in this life, but does not mean that he is liberated from bondage to material bodies. The living entity receives one type of body, and by performing actions with that body, he creates another. Thus he transmigrates from one body to another to repeated birth and death because of his gross ignorance. But I just try to understand what this means. So he has received his present body because of his past fruitive activity. It means his karma from previous lifetimes caused him to have this present body, specifically the immediate previous lifetime. actions cause him to receive this present body. So that soul can end the results of his actions in this life. So whatever we did, whatever karma we did in this life, we may end the results of that karma. But still, that does not mean that we are liberated from bondage to material bodies, because we have, karma from many previous lifetimes that is still there. The karma can be aprarabdha, can be prarabdha, and can be in some stages in between, like bija and kuta. So the karma gradually fructifies and is giving the results. So what we do at the present moment is not going to immediately tomorrow give us a result. No, it might take, one lifetime. Sometimes it can take few lifetimes for that particular karma to fructify and give results. So although we might, end the bad actions and bad karma in this lifetime, there is reactions that are waiting from previous lifetimes to fructify in this lifetime, and that's why this is the cause of bondage. That's why one is not immediately liberated just by ending bad actions in this lifetime. Okay, purport. The living entity's evolution to different types of bodies is conducted automatically by the laws of nature in bodies other than those of human bodies. In other words, by the laws of nature, Prakriti Kriyamhanani, the living entity evolves from lower grades of life to the human form. Because of his developed consciousness, however, the human being must understand the constitutional position of the living entity and understand why he must accept a material body. This chance is given to him by nature. But if he nonetheless acts like an animal, what is the benefit of his human life? Yeah, if human being acts like an animal, then it's completely useless having a human body. Actually, in the Western world now, it's a popular that some people identify as animals. I've seen some video in Germany, group of people who identify as dogs. They dressed up as dogs, and they had a gathering on a street together, maybe 20, 30, 40 of them together, walking on all fours like dogs. And then some other people were standing and holding them on a leash. So they literally act like animals. What to speak about having animal consciousness? So is this life? In this life, one must select the goal of life and act accordingly. If we have no goal in life, if the goal is just to eat, sleep, mate, and defend, then this is animal life. The goal has to be something higher. Having received instructions from the spiritual master and Shastra, one must be sufficiently intelligent. In the human form of life, one should not remain foolish and ignorant, but must inquire about his constitutional position. This is called Atatu Brahma Jigyasa. The human psychology gives rise to many questions, which various philosophers have considered and answered with various types of philosophy based upon mental concoction. This is not the way of liberation. The Vedic instructions say, Tat Vijnanartam Sagurum Eva Bigachet. This is from Mundaka Upanishad. To solve the problems of life, one must accept a spiritual master. Tasmat Gurum Prapadyata Jigyasu Shreya Uttamam. This is from 11th canto of the Bhagavatam. If one is actually serious in inquiring about the solution to material existence, one must approach a bona fide guru. Tad vidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. Just try to learn the truth by approaching the spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. This is from the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. One must approach a bona fide spiritual master by surrendering himself, pranipatena, and rendering service. An intelligent person must inquire from the spiritual master about the goal of life. A bona fide spiritual master can answer all such questions because he has seen the real truth. Even in ordinary activities, we first consider gain and loss, and then we act. Similarly, an intelligent person must consider the entire process of material existence and then act intelligently, following the directions of the bona fide spiritual master. So again, here we have mentioned the spiritual master and bona fide spiritual master. I recently posted that video of Banu Swami about Shiksha Gurus and Diksha Gurus. I'm not sure if anybody had time to watch it, but he is giving good description of what the Diksha is, what initiation is, what is Shiksha, what is Diksha. So many technical terms he explains very nicely. So if you get a time, I think it's worth of listening that class to educate ourselves about this topic, about the Guru Tattva, about the spiritual master and different types of spiritual master and their relative importance. Vishwan Jagrati Thakur, the Jiva performs actions with the human body which produces karma. He attains another body on Swarga by his actions without distinguishing these two bodies from Atma. He thinks, I perform action, I enjoy Swarga as a result of my actions. This type of identity has no sense of discrimination, since the Atma is completely different from both bodies. So whether one has a human body, animal body, or Devata body, the body of a demigod, he is, fully conditioned by his false ego to think, I am this body. Whether body is high or low. Dog, he thinks he is the dog. Demigod, he thinks he's a demigod. And man, he thinks he's a man. But this is illusion, this is Maya, misidentification of the pure soul with the covering of the soul. So it exists here, it exists in a higher planetary systems, it exists in lower planetary systems. And our goal is to overcome this identification and identify ourselves as servants of Krishna, which is constitutional position of every living entity. Okay, one more. Tasmat artarscha khamascha dharmascha yad apashayah bhajata nihayatmanam aniham harimishwaram. Translation: the four principles of advancement in spiritual life, Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha, all depend on the disposition of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, my dear friends, follow in the footsteps of devotees without desire, fully depend upon the disposition of the Supreme Lord and worship Him, the Super Soul, in devotional service. Everybody knows what the disposition means. Anybody can give a synonym? Shailesh Prabhu, can you translate the disposition? I would say that mercy or blessings would be a good synonym for it. So even for such things as Artha, Kama, and Moksha, we all depend on the mercy of the Lord, whether we're pursuing spiritual things or material things. Still, the mercy of the Lord is necessary. His blessings, His, He's allowing us to enjoy the fruits of our karma. Okay, purport. These words of intelligence, everyone should know that in every stage of life we are dependent upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Dharma, religion, which we accept should be that which is recommended by Prahlad Maharaj, Bhagavad Dharma. This is the instruction of Krishna, Sarva Dharma Paritija Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. Take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna means to act according to the rules and regulations of Bhagavad Dharma, devotional service. As far as economic development is concerned, we should discharge our occupational duties, but fully depend on the lotus feet of the Lord for the results. Karma neva dikaraste ma baleju kadachana. You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. According to one's position, one should perform his duties, but for the results one should fully depend upon Krishna. Narottam Thakur sings that our only desire should be to perform the duties of Krishna consciousness. We should not be misled by the karma mimamsa philosophy, which concludes that if we work seriously, the results will come automatically. This is not a fact. The ultimate result depends upon the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in other words, if you work very hard and you don't have the blessings of the Lord, still it will be useless labor. Some people think, well, yeah, if I, work very hard, I have a great desire, one day I'll become rich. But how many people become rich? One in 10,000? How many, billionaires are in the world? 100 out of how many billion of people living on the earth? So just hard work is not enough. One needs mercy of the Lord. So karma mimamsa philosophy is wrong because it's completely neglecting the will of the Supreme Lord. In devotional service, therefore, the devotee completely depends upon the Lord and honestly performs his occupational duties. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj advised his friends to depend completely on Krishna and worship him in devotional service. So, whatever we do, whether it's ordinary daily activities, our spiritual activities, sadhana, our occupation, we should be aware that only by Krishna's grace, by His grace, we can be successful, spiritually or materially. We should never forget that and always basically seek for His mercy in order to be successful in all our endeavors. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, what is this discrimination? Artha, dharma, and kama are dependent on the Lord, just as oxen are dependent on their master for performing their actions and enjoyment. Anihaya means without material desire. Aniha means independent. Okay, anybody else would like to read Shloka 2?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, Shodhamadi, okay, you can start and then
yes.
please read.
Hare Krishna. सर्वेषामपि भूतानां हरिरात्मेश्वरः प्रियः भूतेर्महाभीष्वकृते कृतानां जीवसंगितः. Translation: The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, the soul and the super soul of all living entities. Every living entity is a manifestation of his energy in terms of living soul and the material body. Therefore, the Lord is the most dear, and he is the supreme controller. Purport: The Supreme Personality of Godhead is manifested by his different energies: the material energy, the spiritual energy, and the marginal energy. He is the original source of all living entities in the material world, and he is situated in everyone's heart as a supersoul. Although living entity is the cause of his various types of bodies, the body is given by material nature according to the order of the Lord. Ishvaraha sarva bhutanam didideshe arjuna tishtati brahmanmayan sarva bhutani yantrarudhani mayaya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjun, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energies. Bhagavad Gita 1864. The body is just like a machine, a car, in which the living entity is given a chance to sit and move according to his desire. The Lord is the original cause of the material body and the soul, which is expanded by his marginal energy. The Supreme Lord is the dearmost object of all living entities. Prahlad Maharaj therefore advised his class friends, the sons of the demons, to take shelter of Supreme Personality of Godhead again. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Since the Lord is the body and the Atma of all beings, is Paramatma and is most dear to all beings, you should worship him. He is the Atma, Paramatma of all beings. He is the Supreme Lord. He is the body of all beings, since he is their cause, creating them from Mahat Tattva and other elements. Because the Jiva is his Tatastha Shakti, the Lord is known as the Jiva. Since the Lord is dearest to all beings, worship him. He is dearer than what is called the Jiva.
This is an interesting topic about who is the most dear to a living entity. If we carefully examine who is the most dear from our, near and dear ones, like a father, mother, wife, husband, son, daughter. If we carefully examine, we will conclude that still, from all these people, we are the dearest to ourselves. But then, even dearest than ourselves to us is the Lord, and that we realize only when we get realization of the Lord. But this is the fact that Lord is the most dear. It's even dearer than our own selves. Not to speak about other jivas. What else we have here? Yeah, this is the Lord is the most dear. He is the supreme controller. So every living entity is a manifestation of his energy. We are Tatashta Shakti, means that we are Shakti, energy of the Lord, but just the marginal energy. And Lord, of course, he has his internal energy, his Swarup Shakti, and external energy or Maya. So we are in between these two energies by our nature. So we can lean either towards the material side, towards the Maya illusory energy, external energy, or we can, by our free will, lean towards the internal energy of the Lord. So the choice is ours. All right. Dhanashri Mataji, would like to read the next one? If you're there. Okay, looks like she doesn't.
I am.
Okay.
It's difficult to open the microphone.
No problem, no problem.
Okay, so 7750. Devanshu Manusho Va Yakshu Gandana Evava Bhajan Mukunda Charanam Vatimam Yata Vayam. Translation: If a demigod, a demon, human being, yaksha, Gandharva, or anyone within the universe, this universe renders service to the lotus feet of Mukunda, who can deliver liberation. He is actually situated in the most auspicious condition of life, exactly like us, the Mahajans, headed by Prahlad Maharaj. Purport. Prahlad Maharaj, by his living example, requested his friends to engage in devotional service. Whether in demigod society, Ashura society, human society, or Gandharva society, every living entity should take shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda and thus become perfect in good fortune. Because the Lord is like this, everyone should perform bhakti.
So see, there are many types of society. There is a human society, demigod society, asuras, they also have society, Gandhavas, they have their own society. And even within human society, you have, Western society, you have, South Asian societies, and different countries, they have their own societies. There are many divisions there. But regardless of the society we belong to, we are all, parts and parcels of God, and that we should take shelter of Him, of the Lord, and thus become perfect. As Prabhupada said, perfect in good fortune. The Mukunda or Krishna is the only one who can give liberation. Maybe Anshuman, you can read one more. This was short.
Okay. Nalam dvijatvam devatvam vishvam vasuatmaja pinanaya mukundasya navitam na bahujata nadanam natapto neya na sucham na vatanicha priyate malaya bhaktya ariranyad vidam banam. Translation. My dear friends, O sons of the demons, you cannot please the Supreme Personality of Godhead by becoming perfect Brahmanas, demigod, or great saints, or by becoming perfectly good in etiquette or vast learning. None of these qualifications can awaken the pleasure of the Lord, nor by charity, austerity, sacrifice, cleanliness, or vows can one satisfy the Lord. The Lord is pleased only if one has unflinching faith, unalloyed devotion to Him. Without sincere devotional service, everything is simply a show. Purport. Prahlad Maharaj concludes that one can become perfect by serving the Supreme Lord sincerely by all means. Material elevation to life as a material elevation to life as a Brahmana, demigod, rishi, and so on are not causes for developing love of Godhead. But if one sincerely engages in the service of the Lord, his Krishna consciousness is complete. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9.30. Apichet suduracharo bhajate anayabhak sadhu eva samantavya samyak vyasasitoi saha. Even if one commits the most abominable actions, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated. To develop unalloyed love for Krishna is the perfection of life. Other process may be helpful, but if one does not develop his love for Krishna, these other processes are simply a waste of time. Dharmaha savanutita pumsham vishvakshena kachatus ya not padayed yadiradim shrama eva hi kevalam. Duties, dharma, executed by men, regardless of occupation, are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for the message of the Lord, of the Supreme Lord. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.8. The test of perfection is one's unalloyed devotion to the Lord. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, these items cannot please him, Alam Prinanaya. For far from pleasing him, they are a cause of ridicule, vidambanam.
So, Sham eva ikevalam means useless labor. So whatever we do, if the result of our action is not that we are getting paid for hearing about the Lord and the message of the Lord, we can consider that our labor, our work was waste of time. So even if we do some so-called devotional service, but we do it mechanically, we do some sort of sadhana, just go to the temple out of duty or out of fear. And if this is not resulting in increasing our attraction towards the Lord, then it's Shamayava Hikelam. It's just an empty ritual. We don't want to get stuck into just performing rituals out of fear. This is not the point of bhakti, to perform rituals and follow some rules and regulations in order not to go to hell. So this is not the point of bhakti. Point of bhakti is developing attraction towards the Supreme Lord. And if this attraction is somehow not happening, that means that we are doing something wrong, and we should examine ourselves. What should we change in order to start to get some attraction towards the Lord? Another point made here in this verse that one's external qualifications, one's material elevation to life as Brahmana, demigod, Rishi are not the causes for developing love of Godhead. That the Lord is not pleased by our position or our status in society. He's not pleased even if we become a GVC. You think this is pleasing to Krishna? I mean, if you do something pleasing as GBC, even if you become a so-called institutional guru, it's not necessary, doesn't necessarily mean it's pleasing to Krishna. Your consciousness should be directed towards his pleasure, then he is pleased. So any external designations are not the cause of the pleasure of the Lord. It is our motivation, our consciousness, our intention to please the Lord, our endeavor to please him. This is what is pleasing to him. No external things. Whether you're Brahmana or this or that, it doesn't really matter. Brahmanas can also be very much puffed up, very much proud. And sometimes it happens that in Kali Yuga it's mentioned that demons take birth in Brahmana families to destroy demonic culture, to destroy the Vedic culture. Everything is topsy-turvy. So we should not take anything for granted just by external appearance of it. All right. If anybody has any comments or questions, please interrupt us anytime. Chatura Mataji, would you like to read some?
Okay. Tato haro bhagavati bhaktin kuruta tanavaha amopam yena savacha savaputta mani swari. Translation. My dear friends, O sons of the demons, in the same favorable way, that one sees himself and takes care of himself, took to devotional service to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is present everywhere as the super soul of all living entities. Purport. The two Yena refers to thinking others to be like oneself. One can very intelligently conclude that without devotional service, without being Krishna conscious, one cannot be happy. Therefore, the duty of all devotees is to preach Krishna consciousness everywhere, all over the world, because all living entities without Krishna consciousness are suffering the pangs of material existence. To preach Krishna consciousness is the best welfare activity. Indeed, it is described by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as upakara, work for the true benefit of others. The activities of upakara have been especially interested to those who have taken birth in India as human beings. Paratapumite Hela Manusha Jamayara Jamasataka Karikara Para Upakara CC Adi 9.41. The entire world is suffering for want of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised all human beings born in India to make their lives perfect by Krishna consciousness and then preach the gospel of Krishna consciousness all over the world so that others may become happy by executing the principles of Krishna consciousness. Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur. No purport?
There is a purport. Say Atma Upamyena. You can you see Vishnu Thakur's purport is there. One sentence is there.
No, I cannot see.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll read it. Atma Upamyena means seeing others as oneself in their happiness and distress. It's just one sentence. And this is actually the meaning of this purport, to empathize with others as you would do with yourself. When you see somebody is unhappy, person who has a soft heart, he also is unhappy. He doesn't want to see anybody in distress, and he wants to help, but he needs to know how to help. Of course, if somebody is hungry, it's good to give him food, but this is not going to really solve his problems. What will solve his problems is if you give him in some way or other Krishna consciousness. If you teach him how to become a devotee, then this will significantly change his life. Just giving him food, okay, today he might eat, but then tomorrow again he'll be hungry, and you cannot be there every day for him to feed him. So instead of just doing mundane welfare work, it is much better to preach Krishna consciousness, as Prabhupada is saying here. This is the paraupakar, the best welfare activity. And here he is making a point that it is specifically entrusted to those who have taken birth in India. Actually, the Chaitanya Charitamrita shloka says Bharata Bhumite Oila. So Bharata, yes, of course, it's India nowadays. It's called Bharata, but in previous ages, Bharata was much broader than the present day India. Bharata, encompass practically whole world. And if you remember when we were studying the fifth canto, all Earth, all present day known Earth was called Bharata. So during the reign of Raja Rishis like Maharaj Yudhishthir and others, whole world was Bharatavarsha, and everybody was under one flag. And all citizens of that Bharata, they were happy and followers of Vedic culture and Varnashram society, and they all had equal opportunity to become Krishna conscious. But as the time was passing, as the Kali Yuga progressed, the Bharata shrinked to the present day India. And how many people actually in the India nowadays are taking up to Krishna consciousness, and what to speak about teaching and preaching to others. Of course, we have many, many Indian devotees, but comparing to number of people living in India, which is, how much was it? I forgot, 1.5 billion. It's the most populous country in the world. I think India has overtaken China. And we might have hundreds of thousands of devotees, which I doubt it's hundreds of thousands, but a lot of devotees, more than anywhere in the world. But still, comparing to total population of India, this is just 0.001% or something like that. So most people, even in India nowadays, they're ignorant. If you just go on the street, you see people selling fish, meat, this, that. Simple activities also going on here, like everywhere else in the world. But good luck for those who are born or who live in India is that there are many holy places. And there are many temples of Krishna, of Vishnu, Ramachandra, also the demigod. There are temples of Shiva, Durga. So it's much easier to get exposed to Vedic influence if one is receptive. But then again, you see so many Muslim people also live in India, and they are not at all attracted to Krishna consciousness or Vedic culture or anything like that. So they're certainly not going to preach Krishna consciousness. Even normal Hindus who have no interest in bhakti, there is no difference between them and the Westerners who are not Krishna conscious. And on the other side, if one is a devotee, and even if he's born in the West, this is not obstacle nowadays, because the borders can be crossed now very easily. So regardless of our birth or residence, we want to help preaching Krishna consciousness, and for that we need also to become Krishna conscious ourselves first, to make our lives perfect, and then parallelly, simultaneously help others become perfect. So this is para-upakar, work for the benefit of others. All right. Anybody else like to say something on this? If not, I can read a little bit now. Daiteya yaksha rakshamsi striya shudra vraja ukasa kagha mrigha papa jiva sante hyachuthatham gataha. Oh, my friends, or sons of demons, everyone, including you, the Yakshas and Rakshasas, the unintelligent women, Shudras, and cowherd men, the birds, the lower animals, and the sinful living entities can revive his original eternal spiritual life and exist forever simply by accepting the principle of Bhakti Yoga. So he's saying everybody, asuras, women, well, he's unintelligent. I don't know if it's really in the Sanskrit or Prabhupada is translating like this. Striya, it just says Striya. Doesn't say really unintelligent, but anyway, Shudra, Vraja, Okasa, which are village cowherd men, kind of simple people. And then Kaga, birds, Mriga, animals, Papa Jiva, those who are sinful, all they can become Krishna conscious. Purport. The devotees are referred to as Achyuta Gotra, or the dynasty of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is called Achyuta, as indicated in Bhagavad Gita, Senayor Ubayor Madhye Ratan Sthapaya Myachyuta. This is from the first chapter when two armies are standing before the start of the battle. The Lord is infallible in the material world because he is the supreme spiritual person. Similarly, the jivas who are part and parcel of the Lord can also become infallible. Although Prahlad's mother was in the conditional state and was the wife of a demon, even yakshas, rakshasas, women, shudras, and even birds and other lower living entities can be elevated to the Achyuta Gotra, the family of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we have example of animals, especially the monkeys in Lord Ramachandra's Leela, then some birds like Garuda, and who remembers any other animals who became devotees? Jambavan, again in Ram Leela, the bear. Yeah, regardless, whatever body one has, he can become a devotee. That is the highest perfection. As Krishna never falls, when we revive our spiritual consciousness, Krishna consciousness, we never fall again to material existence. One should understand the position of the Supreme Achyuta Krishna, who says in Bhagavad Gita, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tatpataha, taktva deham punar janma naiti mam eti sorjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. One should understand Achyuta, the Supreme Infallible, and how we are related with him, and one should take to the service of the Lord. This is the perfection of life. Srila Madhvacharya says, Achyutatham Chutivarjanam. The word Achyutatham refers to one who never falls to this material world, but always remains in the Vaikuntha world, fully engaged in the service of the Lord. So Achyuta is one who is infallible. Krishna Shakti Thakur, Bhakti does not depend on good birth. Achyutatham Gatha means that one becomes similar to Achyuta by assuming a spiritual body. Or it can mean that one attains the position of never falling, as the karmis do from Svarga. It is said in the Kashi Kanda, Na chavante chayad bhakta mahatyam pralaya padi atvachito kile loke vidvadbhi pariniyate. Because the devotees do not fall from their position at the time of universal destruction, the Lord is called Achyuta by the learned in the whole world. So once we get to the stage of prema, we do not fall. There is no possibility of falling back into material consciousness. At the stage of bhava, it is still possible, although the probability is not very high. But because at the stage of bhava, there is still just a slight trace of anartha, of material impurity, it's still possible. And this happened to Maharaj Bharat, if you remember the story, where he fell from high state of bhava due to his attachment to small deer. That means he was not yet perfect. That's why the fall down was there. But you never hear about the residents of Vrindavan, like gopis or cowherd boys falling down. It's impossible to fall from the stage of prema. All right, so should we make one more round? Subhadra Mataji, you would like to read again?
Yes, Prabhu. Etavan eva lokesmin pumsaha swartaha para smritaha ekanta bhaktir govinde yat sarvatra tat ikshanam. Translation. In this material world, to render service to the lotus feet of Govinda, the cause of all causes, and to see him everywhere, is the only goal of life. This much alone is the ultimate goal of human life, as explained by the revealed scriptures. In this verse, the words sarvatra tat ikshanam describe the highest perfection of devotional service, in which one sees everything with reference to Govinda's activities. The highly elevated devotees never sees anything unrelated to Govinda. Stavara jangama dekhe, na dekhe tara murti, sarvatra haya nija ishta devaspurti. The Mahabhagavat, the advanced devotee, certainly sees everything mobile and immobile, but he does not exactly see their forms. Rather, everywhere he immediately sees manifest the form of the Supreme Lord. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 8, verse 274. Even in this material world, a devotee does not see materially manifested things. Instead, he sees Govinda in everything. When he sees a tree or a human being, a devotee sees them in relation to Govinda. Govindam Adi Purusham, Govinda is the original source of everything. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiradi Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme controller. He has an eternal, blissful, spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, for he is the prime cause of all causes. Brahma Samhita 5.1. The universe, even in every atomic particle, Ananda Antarastha Paramanu.
I think you skipped one line. The test of a perfect devotee.
The test of a perfect devotee is that he sees Govinda everywhere in this universe, even in every atomic particle. Ananda Antarastha Paramanu Chayantara Stam. This is the perfect vision of a devotee. It is therefore said, Narayanam ayam dhiraha pashyanti paramarthinaha jagadhanan mayam lubdha kamuka kamini mayam. A devotee sees everyone and everything in relationship with Narayan. Narayanam ayam. Everything is an expansion of Narayan's energy. Just as those who are greedy see everything as a source of money, making, and those who are lusty sees everything as being conducive to sex. The most perfect devotee, Prahlad Maraso, Narayan even within a stone column. This does not mean, however, that we must accept the words Daridra Narayan, which have been manufactured by some unscrupulous person. One who actually envisions Narayan everywhere makes no distinction between the poor and the rich. To single out the Daridra Narayanas or poor Narayan and reject the Dhani Narayan or rich Narayan is not the vision of a devotee. Rather, that is the imperfect vision of materialistic persons. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. When pure bhakti, Ananya bhakti is present, on maturity one sees the Lord everywhere. It is said, Narayanam ayam dhiraha pashyanti paramarthinah jagadhananmayam lubha kamuka kamini mayam. The devotees dedicated to the highest truth see everything as Narayan, just as the greedy person sees the world as wealth and the lusty man sees the world as enjoyable women. Similarly, Prahlad saw the Lord in the pillar. Thus end the commentary of the 7th chapter of the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam for the pleasure of the devotees, in accordance with the previous acharyas.
So this is the good comparison. So one who is very much greedy and after the money, everywhere he looks, he will see opportunity how to make money. He will see money everywhere because this is his consciousness. Greed for money is there, that it is urging him to see the world in terms of money. And then, yeah, if somebody is lusty, everywhere he sees attractive women or men because he just wants to enjoy the bodies of others. And so similarly, devotee who has lobha, greed for Krishna, he sees Krishna everywhere. Any small thing will be impetus for him remembering Krishna, like that example of who was it, Pundarik Vidyanidhi, when Gadadhar Pandit came to visit him, and he was dressed as a materialist. So Gadadhar had some doubts whether he's really a devotee, and then to dispel his doubts, another devotee, he recited one shloka from Bhagavatam that glorified Krishna as the most merciful. Aho Baki, that was glorifying Krishna, who delivered even Putana and gave her a position of a mother. So as soon as the Pundarik Vidyanidhi, who previously was kind of looking at the mirror, like admiring his beauty, as soon as he heard that verse, he remembered Krishna, and that caused the waves of transcendental love in his heart, that he immediately started destroying his luxurious clothes and everything around him, and start rolling on the ground. So this is the devotee who has Krishna in his heart. So even small outside influence will make him remember Krishna. So in this way we finish this 7th chapter of the 7th canto, and we will proceed now to the next chapter, in which one Lord Nrsimhadev will slay the king of the demons. And here we have a chapter summary. Dan Nrsimhadev, you would like to read the chapter summary?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu, I will read. As described in this chapter, Hiranyakashipu was ready to kill his own son Prahlad Maharaj, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared in front of the demon as Sri Nikeshari, half lion and half man, and killed him. Following the instructions of Prahlad Maharaj, all the sons of the demons became attached to Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When this attachment became pronounced, their teachers, Chandra and Amarka, were very much afraid that the boys would become more and more devoted to the Lord. In a helpless condition, they approached Hiranyakashipu and described in detail the effect of Prahlad's preaching. After hearing of this, Hiranyakashipu decided to kill his son Prahlad. Hiranyakashipu was so angry that Prahlad Maharaj fell down at his feet and said many things just to pacify him, but he was unsuccessful in satisfying his demoniac father. Hiranyakashipu, as a typical demon, began to advertise himself as being greater than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but Prahlad Maharaj challenged him, saying that Hiranyakashipu was not God, and began to glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead, declaring that the Lord is all-pervading, that everything is under him, and that no one is equal to the greater than him. Thus, he requested his father to be submissive to the omnipotent Supreme Lord. The more Prahlad Maharaj glorified the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the more angry and agitated the demon became. Hiranyakashipu asked his Vaishnav son whether his God existed within the columns of the palace, and Prahlad Maharaj immediately accepted that since the Lord is present everywhere, he was also present within the columns. When Hiranyakashipu heard this philosophy from his young son, he derided the boy's statement as just the talk of a child, and forcefully struck the pillar with his fist. As soon as Hiranyakashipu struck the column, there issued forth a tumultuous sound. At first, Hiranyakashipu, the king of the demons, could not see anything but the pillar, but to substantiate Prahlad's statements, the Lord came out of the pillar and in his wonderful incarnation as Narasimha, half lion and half man. Hiranyakashipu could immediately understand that the extraordinarily wonderful form of the Lord was surely meant for that death, and thus he prepared to fight with the form of half lion and half man. The Lord performed his pastime by fighting with the demon for some time, and in the evening, on the border between day and night, the Lord captured the demon, threw him on his lap, and killed him by piercing his abdomen with his nails. The Lord not only killed Hiranyakashipu, the king of the demons, but also killed many of his followers. When there was no one else to fight, the Lord, roaring with anger, sat down on Hiranyakashipu's throne. The entire universe was thus relieved of the rule of Hiranyakashipu, and everyone was jubilant in transcendental bliss. Then all the demigods, headed by Lord Brahma, approached the Lord. This included the great saintly persons, the Pitas, the Siddhas, the Vidyadharas, the Nagas, the Manus, the Prajapatis, the Gandharvas, the Charanas, the Yakshas, the Kimpurushas, the Vatalikas, the Kinnaras, and also many other varieties of being in human form. All of them stood not far from the supreme personality of Godhead and began offering his prayers unto the Lord, whose spiritual effulgence was brilliant as he sat on the throne.
Okay, you want to read the first sloka also?
Shri Narada Uvacha Atadelia Sutta Sarve Shutwa Tad Anu Vanitam Jagu Niravatan Eva Guru Shikshakshitam Shikshitam. Translation. Narada Muni continued. All the sons of the demons appreciated the transcendental instructions of Prahlad Maharaj and took them very seriously. They rejected the materialistic instructions given by their teachers, Sanda and Amarka. Purport. This is the effect of the preaching of a pure devotee like Prahlad Maharaj. If a devotee is qualified, sincere and serious about Krishna consciousness, and if he follows the instruction of a bona fide spiritual master, as Prahlad Maharaj did when preaching the instructions he had received from Narada Muni, his preaching is effective. As it is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam 3.25.25, Satam Prashangam Mama Virya Samvido Bhavanti Rit Rasayana Kataha. If one tries to understand the discourse given by the Sat or pure devotees, those instructions will be very pleasing to the ear and appealing to the heart. Thus, if one is inspired to take to Krishna consciousness, and if one practices the process in his life, he is surely successful in returning home back to Godhead. By the grace of Prahlad Maharaj, all his class friends, the sons of the demons, become Vaishnavas. They did not like hearing from their so-called teachers, Sanda and Amarka, who were interested only in teaching them about diplomacy, politics, economic development, and similar topics meant exclusively for sense gratification. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in the 8th chapter, Hiranyakashipu tries to kill his son and attacks a pillar in anger. Nishimadev appears from the pillar and kills him. The Devatas praise the Lord.
This is more or less just the summary of what is going to follow in this chapter. Let's see. The effect of preaching with pure devotee like Prahlad Maharaj was that they were transformed. His schoolmate friends, they rejected the teachings taught to them by the materialistic teachers and accepted Prahlad's teaching because his influence was so strong. Influence of pure devotee, that's why Sadhu Sangha is always glorified as the first step towards perfection, to associate with devotees, because they have Krishna. Pure devotees like Brahma, they have Krishna, and in their association, hearing from them and serving them, we also get taste to hear and glorify Krishna. Okay, Chatura Mataji, would you like to read? Chatura Mataji, you there? Looks like she's not there. Okay, I will read them. अथच्छर्या सुतास्तेषां बोधिनेकान्तसंस्थिताम् आलक्ष्याभिधास्त्वारिथो राज्ञा अवादयाद्यथा. Then Shanda and Amarka, the sons of Shukracharya, observed that all the students, the sons of the demons, were becoming advanced in Krishna consciousness because of the association of Prahlad Maharaj They were afraid. They approached the king of the demons and described the situation as it was. The word Bodhi Mekanta Samstitham indicate that as an effect of Prahlad Maharaj's preaching, the students who listened to him became fixed in the conclusion that Krishna consciousness is the only object of human life. The fact is that anyone who associates with a pure devotee and follows his instructions becomes fixed in Krishna consciousness and is not disturbed by materialistic consciousness. The teachers particularly observed this in the students, and therefore they were afraid because the whole community of students was gradually becoming Krishna conscious. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Ekanta Samstitham can mean their intelligence was fixed first on bhakti and then last on everything else. Or it can mean fixed on bhakti yoga. So yeah, just by association with the Prahlad Maharaj, their intelligence became purified and fixed on Krishna consciousness. See, they became Shanda and Marka. They became afraid because their students, they were becoming Krishna conscious. I remember reading one book about the beginnings of Krishna consciousness in Russia, in the former Soviet Union, in the end of 70s and beginning of 80s. It was still that time communist country, and government and the agents, they became afraid when people start becoming devotees, and they did a lot of torture of devotees, catching them, putting them in a prison, torturing them, because they were afraid. What if this Krishna consciousness spreads? It will destroy our communism. They might be the CIA agents, American agents, or who knows what. And also they were atheists. They didn't want any religion. They didn't want a Christianity, what to speak about some Asian Eastern religion. But eventually that torture of devotees actually led to the fall of the whole Soviet Union, that the country fell apart because devotees were tortured. And after that, what happened when the other countries were formed from the Soviet Union, Russia is the biggest one, and others, then Krishna consciousness exploded. Thousands and thousands of devotees joined in Russia. Just here in Mayapur, we have 1,000 Russian-speaking devotees according to the number of visas at the moment. So this is just at the moment. So these are not only Russians, I guess Ukrainians also there, and a few other smaller countries that belong to Soviet Union. But it's a huge number of devotees just living in Mayapur. How many more are there in Russia, Ukraine, and Latvia, Lithuania, these Baltic small countries? Anyway, okay, that was that. Tetra Mataji, you may be now there now. Can you hear? Looks
Yes,
like
Prabhu. Yes.
would like to read.
Yeah. Sorry.
No problem.
Corporation Karagacha Gacha Puchan Huntun Mano the day she Trapurushaya Vacha Radan Mata Adhanang Aheshaman Napapena Tira Chinena Chakshusha Prasraya Vanatanta Tam Bata Jalin Avastitan Sapa Pada Hata Eva Swasam Prakriti Tarunaha. Translation. When Hiranyakasipu understood the entire situation, he was extremely angry, so much so that his body trembled. Thus, he finally decided to kill his son, Prahlad. He began hissing like a snake, trembled upon by someone's foot. His son Prahlad was peaceful, mild, and gentle, and his senses were under control. And he stood before Hiranyakasipu with folded hands. According to Prahlad's age and behavior, he was not to be chastised. Yet, with staring, cooked eyes, Hiranyakasipu rebuked him with the following harsh words. Purport. When one is imprudent toward a highly authorized devotee, one is punished by the laws of nature. The duration of his life is diminished, and he loses the blessings of superior persons and the results of pious activities. Hiranyakasipu, for example, had achieved such great power in the material world that he could subdue practically all the planetary systems in the universe, including the heavenly planets, Svargaloka. Yet now, because of his mistreatment of such a Vaishnava as Prahlad Maharaj, all the results of his tapasya diminished. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 10.4.46, Ayu Shriyam Yasho Tamam Lokan Asit Sa Evacha Panti Shreyansi Sa Vani Pusomaha Atikramaha. When one mistreats great souls, his lifespan, opulence, reputation, religion, possessions, and good fortune are all destroyed.
This offense to great souls, to Vaishnavas and Brahmanas, is compared to a mad elephant offense. Although you might have achieved some spiritual progress, still it will be destroyed if the offense is very serious. Like when elephant enters the garden and he makes complete mess, he tramples all the plants and the trees can fall and he can create great damage. So if the offense is very serious, one who is a devotee, he can become even atheist. If the offense is not that serious, his bhakti will be lowered. Means that it will big bhakti or devotional service of lower quality or lower stage. And if the offense is slight, then there will be some slight lowering of his devotion. So that's why we should be always very, very careful not to commit offense to any Vaishnavas, and especially advanced Vaishnavas. Of course, it's difficult for us maybe to distinguish who is advanced Vaishnava, who is not. For that, we need some insight and some knowledge. But the safest thing is not to make offenses to anybody, whether they are advanced or not advanced. Even, offense towards the non-devotees, it's a sin. It's a sinful activity. If you offend innocent man, you hit innocent man on the street or something, push him, or it's sinful, and we'll get reaction for that. And then this becomes an artha if it's directed towards the devotee, then it becomes an obstacle in spiritual life. But it's also an obstacle, to harass innocent men, even if they're not devotees. Might not be strictly speaking Vaishnava aparad, but it's jiva aparad, and jivas are parts and parcels of Krishna. So it's a sinful thing. So that's why we cannot practice spiritual life and harm other living entities, even animals. We cannot practice spiritual life and kill animals. It's an offense towards these poor jivas in animals' bodies. Okay, anybody has anything on this? Okay, I'll read now. We have a little more time. Shri Hanikashi Purvacha He Durvinita Mandat Man Kula Veda Karadama Stabda Machasano Dvritam Nishetvadyayamakshayam. Translation: Hiranyakashipu said, "O most impudent, most unintelligent, disruptor of the family, O lowest of mankind, you have violated my power to rule you, and therefore you are an obstinate fool. Today I shall send you to the place of Yamaraj." See, he's saying, violated my power to rule you. He's so puffed up that he thinks he has a power to rule everybody. Purport. Nikashipu condemns his Vaishnava son Prahlad for being durvinita, ungentle, uncivilized, or impudent. Vishnu Thakur, however, has derived a meaning from this word durvinita by the mercy of the goddess of learning Saraswati. He says that though refers to this material world, that is confirmed by Lord Krishna in his instruction in Bhagavad Gita that this material world is dukhalayam, full of material conditions. V means Vishesha, specifically, and Nita means brought in. By the mercy of the Supreme Lord, Prahlad Maharaj was especially brought to this material world to teach people how to get out of the material condition. Lord Krishna says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glain bhavati bharata. When the entire population or part of it becomes forgetful of its own duty, Krishna comes. When Krishna is not present, the devotee is present. But the mission is the same, to free the poor conditioned souls from the clutches of Maya that chastises them. Sri Vishnu Thakur further explains that the word mandatman means manda, very bad or very slow in spiritual realization. Stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 110. Mandaswanda Matayo Mandabhagya. Prahlad Maharaj is the guide of all the mandas, of bad living entities who are under the influence of Maya. He is the benefactor even of the slow and bad living entities in this material world. Kulabheda Karadhama. By his actions, Prahlad Maharaj made great personalities who established big families seeming insignificant. Everyone is interested in his own family and in making his dynasty famous. But Prahlad Maharaj was so liberal that he made no distinction between one living entity and another. Therefore, he was greater than the great Prajapatis who established their dynasties. The word stabda means obstinate. Devotee does not care for the instructions of the asuras. When they give instructions, he remains silent, and devotee cares about the instructions of Krishna, not those of demons or non-devotees. He does not give any respect to a demon, even though the demon be his father. Mach chasanodvritam. Lal Maharaj was disobedient to the orders of his demonic father. Yamakshayam. Every conditioned soul is under the control of Yamaraj. But Hiranyakashipu said that he considered Prahlad Maharaj his deliverer. For Prahlad would stop Hiranyakashipu's repetition of birth and death. Because Prahlad Maharaj, being a great devotee, was better than any yogi, Hiranyakashipu was to be brought among the society of bhakti yogis. The Srila Vishnu Thakur has explained these words in a very interesting way, as they can be interpreted from side of Saraswati, the mother of learning. So yeah, this is, if one knows Sanskrit, he can explain different words in different ways, and in this way produce different meaning. This is exactly what Srila Vishnu Thakur is doing. When demons are chastising or scolding Krishna, he interprets their words as glorification. Okay. Next, 8.6. I'll just read little till the end. Krudasya yasya kampante trayo loka sakheshwara tasya me vittavan muda shasanam kim balotyaga. My son Prahlad, you rascal, you know that when I'm angry, all the planets of the three worlds tremble, along with their chief rulers. By whose power has a rascal like you become so impudent that you appear fearless and overstep my power to rule you? The relationship between the pure devotee and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is extremely relishable. A devotee never claims to be very powerful himself. Instead, he fully surrenders to the lotus feet of Krishna, being confident that in all dangerous conditions Krishna will protect his devotees. Krishna himself says in Bhagavad Gita, Nandardivan Kaunteya Pradijanihi Name Bhaktya Pranashyati. O son of Kunti, declare boldly that my devotees never perishes. My devotee never perishes. The Lord requested Arjuna to declare this instead of declaring it himself, because sometimes Krishna changes his view, and therefore people might not believe him. Thus Krishna asks Arjuna to declare that the devotee of the Lord is never vanquished. Hiranyakashipu was perplexed about how his 5-year-old boy who was so fearless that he did not care for the order of his very great and powerful father. The devotee cannot execute the order of anyone except the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the position of a devotee. Hiranyakashipu could understand that this boy must have been very powerful, since the boy did not heed his orders. Hiranyakashipu asked his son Kimbala, "How have you overcome my order? By whose strength have you done this?" The Kimbala, by whose strength? And Vishnu says Bala means whose strength. Okay. What is the time? Maybe a little more. Subhadharma, do you like to read one more shloka?
Yes, Prabhu. Shri
Please.
Prahlad Uvacha न केवलं मे भवतश्च राजन् स वै बलं बलिनां चापरेषाम् परे वरे ममी स्थिरजगाम ये ब्रह्मादयो येन वसं प्रणीतः. Prahlad Maharaj said, "My dear king, the source of my strength, of which you are asking, is also the source of yours. Indeed, the original source of all kinds of strength is one. He is not only our strength or mine, but the only strength for everyone. Without him, no one can get any strength, whether moving or not moving, superior or inferior. Everyone, including Lord Brahma, is controlled by the strength of the Supreme Personality of Godhead." Purport. Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, "Yat yat vibhutimat sattvam srimat urjitam eva va tat tat eva gachatvam mama tejo amsa sambhavam." Know that all beautiful, glorious, and mighty creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. This is confirmed by Prahlad Maharaj. If one sees extraordinary strength or power anywhere, it is derived from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To give an example, there are sun. Similarly, all living entities, big or small, are dependent on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One's only duty is to surrender, for one is a servant and can't independently attain the position of master. One can attain the position of master only by the mercy of the master, not independently. Unless one understands this philosophy, he is still a Buddha. In other words, he is not very intelligent. The Mudhas, the ashes who do not have this intelligence, can't surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Understanding the subordinate position of the living entity takes millions of births, but when one is actually wise, he surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 7:19, "Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyante vasudevah sarvam iti sa mahatma sudurlabha." After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Bharat Maharaj was a great soul, a Mahatma, and therefore he completely surrendered unto the lotus feet of the Lord. He was confident that Krishna would give him protection under all circumstances.
Yes, Mahatmas are very rare. Yes, Durlaba. You just look around how many Mahatmas we know. Of course, Mahatma Gandhi is just called Mahatma. Whether he was Mahatma or not, it's a different question. But the Mahatma is one who is fully surrendered to the Supreme Lord. And Prahlad Maharaj is the best example of somebody fully surrendered. Okay, maybe one more. Dhanashri Mataji. Okay, looks like she's not there. I'll read this. Sa Ishvara Kha Urukramo Sab Uj Saha Sattva Palendriyatma Sa Eva Vishvam Paramasva Shaktibi Sijat Yavat Yatti Guna Trayeshaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the supreme controller and the time factor, is the power of the senses, the power of the mind, the power of the body, and the vital force of the senses. His influence is unlimited. He is the best of all living entities. The control of the three modes of material nature. By his own power, he creates this cosmic manifestation, maintains it, and annihilates it also. Purport: since the material world is being moved by the three material modes, and since the Lord is their master, the Lord can create, maintain, and destroy the material world. So the Lord's mercy is needed for any type of work. Without Him, we cannot even live. Our senses would not work. Our mind, our body would not be able to exist. What to speak about uh, being able to do something. Sometimes you see people who are paralyzed, although all the limbs and the body, everything is intact, but somehow, the person cannot move. This is because the Paramatma from within, due to the person's karma, is not allowing him to move. So all parts of our body, they are controlled by different demigods who are just representatives of the Lord. So if the karma of that particular living entity uh, is such that he cannot move, then he will not be able to move, even if all bodily parts and organs are in perfect order. All right, the last one. I'll read the last one. I will stop here. Jahyasuram bhavam imamitvam atmana samam mano datsvanasyanti vidvisha pritejitad atmana utpate stithat hadhi hyanantasya mahat samarhanam. Translation. Lal Maharaj continued, my dear father, please give up your demoniac mentality. Do not discriminate in your heart between enemies and friends. Make your mind equiposed towards everyone, except for the uncontrolled and misguided mind. There is no enemy within this world. When one sees everyone on the platform of equality, one then becomes to the position of worshipping the Lord perfectly. Purport: unless one is able to fix the mind, the lotus feet of the Lord, the mind is impossible to control. This Arjuna says in Bhagavad Gita, Chanchalam himana Krishna pramati balabadam tasyaham nigraham manye vayorhiva sudushkaram. For the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna, and to subdue it, it seems to me, is more difficult than controlling the wind. The only bona fide process for controlling the mind is to fix the mind by service to the Lord. We create enemies and friends according to the direction of the mind, but actually there are no enemies and friends. Pandita Samadarshina Samasareshu Bhuteshu Mal Bhakti Lavati Param. This is from Bhagavad Gita, 5th and 18th chapter. To understand this is the preliminary condition for entering into the kingdom of devotional service. In Vishnu Jagatago, he commands, give up your demoniac nature, make your mind, think yourself and others to be equal. How can I make my mind equal to enemies? There are no enemies except for the mind. which is uncontrolled. When you control the mind and see everyone equal to yourself, you will not see any enemies. That is being equal everywhere. Smara Anam means worship. So yeah, this is the old statement, except for the uncontrolled mind. There are no other real enemies. The mind can be friend, can be enemy, but if it's left uncontrolled, then for sure it will be an enemy. So we want to make our mind a friend, to help us, not to drag us further down. All right, I think we'll stop here. If you have any comments or questions for the end, if not, I'll stop sharing. How do I stop sharing?
Babu,
Yes, Mataji.
sorry, I have a question, but not this chapter. Is Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 6. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So in Canto 6, chapter 13.
13. Let me try
Yeah.
to find Veda base. Yeah. Canto 6, chapter 13. Okay, and the chapter 13, which verse?
Yeah, 8 to 9.
8 to 9, okay.
Yeah.
What does it say there?
It is said anyone kill one has who has killed a brahmana, one has killed a cow, and one who has killed his father, mother, or spiritual master can be immediately free from all sinful reactions simply by chanting the holy name of Lord Narayana. My question is that in the purport, Srila Prabhupada said, anyone who intentionally commit sinful acts, and then he chant the holy names. Then my question is, what is their destination at death?
Those who commit, this seventh offense, who commit sins on the strength of the chanting the holy name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you see in the purport, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, one should.
The,
That does not mean, however, that one should intentionally commit sinful acts and think himself free from the reactions because he is chanting the holy name. You mean this?
no, the fourth.
Or before that?
The fourth line. This
Fourth line.
does not mean. This does not mean.
Yeah, I'm.
Sorry.
This does not mean that one line. However, that
Yeah.
one should intentionally commit sinful activity, because then you are committing nama aparad. You are offending the holy name, because you are committing sinful act with a pre-planned meditation that after committing the sinful act, you will cleanse yourself by chanting the holy name. But it does not work because you will be committing nama parad and you might not be cleansed. You will just offend the holy name and create more anarthas in your heart. So holy name cleanses all sinful activities performed accidentally without planning to do it. Somehow it happened, one slips and then he gets up and continues to chant. But not that one is now planning, oh, I will enjoy this sinful activity. And there is no
Oh,
problem. There is no problem because after that I will chant, I will cleanse myself. This is hellish mentality. This is not, this is wrong mentality. So if one has this sort of mentality, then it does not work. You cannot intentionally plan to commit sinful activity. Only if it
oh,
happens, only if it happens by accident, only then holy name will cleanse it. Otherwise, if you
mm,
plan and you know, oh, holy name has such a power, so I will steal, I will engage in illicit sex, I will do this, I will do that. But
mm,
later I will chant some rounds and I'll be free. That does
mm,
not work. So this is very much discouraged. It will
mm.
create deep anarthas in the heart. So it
Oh,
should not be
yeah,
done by devotee.
yeah. Very good. Thank you. And my also, I want to know if some devotees commit this sinful acts intentionally. So, what are their destination at the time of death?
What
Uh,
will be their destination?
mm,
There are many factors there, and only Yamaraj can tell exactly. Yamaraj and Krishna. Uh, yeah, they will be born in some disadvantageous position in a very low family, or they may be born sick or very poor. They'll get some suffering because of that, but they will still get the chance again after some time to perform devotional service and continue, because whatever little devotional service they've done in the past is not lost. So they'll get the opportunity, but they will also get a lot of hurdles, a lot of troubles, and they'll need to go through all these troubles in the next life, punishment also for these sinful activities. They'll get. But eventually, if they become sincere, if they're sincere and do not commit this seventh offense again, uh, then they'll be gradually cleansed and then delivered. So, so it doesn't mean that they must immediately go to hell, but they will be in some difficult situation. Doing this will bring difficult situation, which might be, almost hellish. I know some devotees, one or two at least, who wanted to kill themselves. And, it became so bad that he just didn't know what to do, and he already, bought a knife, to kill himself. Luckily, he didn't do it. But then later, when he examined what he was doing previously, he was doing civil activity
mm,
again and again. And then when the COVID came and he caught COVID and this and that, and came to the situation that he couldn't live anymore. He just wanted to end his life. Fortunately, Krishna
mm,
saved him, and he saved him at this time. And now he's very, very much afraid to even think about these sinful activities that he was doing previously. He doesn't dare because he went through so much suffering. It was many months of suffering that he went through, in this depression, that he doesn't even dare to think of what he was doing before. So Krishna will
mm,
purify us from this tendency to commit these
mm,
sinful activities through suffering. So we should understand that next destination in life will be suffering situation, whatever it is. So yeah, that's the situation. So we should restrain and never intentionally do any sinful activity. If it happens by some accident or chance, then Krishna and His holy name will save us. But if we do it intentionally, they will not do that. Then we'll need to go to suffering. Is this okay,
yes,
Mataji?
Yeah, very good. Some devotees that this kind of a devotee who has done sinful acts, they don't have to go to hell. Yeah, is that right?
It's each case is individual. Depends how much sinful they were and what they did. They might not, but they will go through some suffering, whether it's in hell or on earth. Suffering will be there. So exact place of suffering, Yamaraj will determine. But they will get some suffering.
Okay.
Okay, Mataji, thank you all. So see you next Wednesday. Hare Krishna, Vanchakalpatru,
You.
Siddhi, Sindhu Beva, Chipatitanam Pavini,
Krishna, Munibhyo, Vaishnavyo,
Vaishnavim Namo Namaha.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank
Krishna
you.
Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare
Thanks.
Krishna, thank you.